Wow!
Wow.
Wow.
Wow! day at the beach. We set sail with new lands and gold on, and gold on our minds, new trade routes, new stakes in the ground, families like sandcastles being washed away as the tide rolls in and the undertow rolls out. A plea for mercy. Within the spans of the expanding all into the eaten and dying nothing, the nothing waiting to be born, reborn, and born again, spilling lovely over the brim, by an empty kiss, a trinity of denial, the trial that was no trial, the many stations, the plea from the left, and the mocking ridicule from the right, quenched with vinegar, a spear in the side, the cry of the forsaken father. While the mother lay weeping, the declaration of it finished, a dive into the bottom, a temple tumbling, with all the claims from the ones that know, how could you? Even the ones with eyes to see and ears to hear lived in a constant state of amnesia, like a flickering flame in the blackest night, a flickering from black to light. The flame only seems to die. With anxious delirium, a knowing it will die. We will be wrapped forever in a suffocating blanket of nothing and know it. Oh, the torment. Might we deserve nothing less? And still we forget this. This would not be without the kiss. Logic. Oh, how we worship your clever wisdom. The linear story, static with facts and truth. Good truth. Save beauty for last. Alas. But what but what do we deserve? How could we even begin to make a proper and appropriate approach? What of those who never knew? The ones whom created, but his hand never reached. The ones whom he created, but his hand never reached. Or how about those that slay the innocent, the ones that split the face of the infinite? But didn't he lay waste to countless children? Now either we've been misled, something's been withheld, or in the beginning was the word and it's been misspelled, or our reading is absurd. Probably the latter. And these words merely from the mouth of the hurt. Am I to have eyes to see and ears to hear? Am I even worthy? It's by the brother's measure, or it's is it by the brother's measure, or my father's endeavor? Now I lay thee down to see, not in a brook, not in a book or clever things. And if I live, but not awake, I pray the Lord my soul. I pray for the Lord. I pray you, Lord, for mercy's sake. That was written January 22nd, 2022. A whisper. Roughly around 2,555 days, a tiny devil convinced a curious angel to step on the snail. The neighbor, the tiny devil, with a knack for voyeurism, watched the angel trip over truth. He too must have tripped over this terror, but got a thrill at the prospect of seeing a stupor upon another. I too was an angel once, he must have thought. It nearly destroyed me to be so naive, he told himself. I will save this boy and delight from his fall all the same. Oh, I will save this boy and delight in his fall all the same. He looked over the fence, and there on the ground a boy played with a snail. Boy, he said, step on the snail. The boy looked up curious and confused. But it'll hurt him, the boy said. Nah, the snail will be fine. See that shell? He's protected. It'll be fun, the tiny devil said convincingly. There I stood, looking upon the older boy, whose handsome sneer peered down the points of the picket fence. At first I thought something is terribly off about this. Running parallel with that thought was another. Something is terribly off about not trusting what this older boy is telling me. I've seen him before, and finally he pays attention to me. He must care enough to share his insights with me. I stood wearily, looked down at the snail, then up at the boy, his smile, then back down at the snail. I stepped. The crush under my bare foot, the smear of shell and body, the terror of realizing this snail's death, and I did it. I looked up at the devil, laughing. He said, you know, you too will die someday. Right there in that moment, I seen the edge of the end. The angel died. I too became the devil. I ran inside and cried to my mother, someday I'm going to die. You're going to die. We're all going to die. Was this the beginning of wisdom? When an angel sees the edge, when he sees the devil, when he sees no escape? That was written December 31st, 2021, 8:44 a.m. Dear Jesus, I'm finding it difficult to know what words to use and what questions to ask. You used very clever ways and images to reach me, and I've hid from you for so long. And even after you reached me, I turned away. Thank you for your continuous love and persistent grasp. What are the donuts you sent meant for me? I used many words to try to manipulate my position. Please remove this demon. I've had much self-deception. Please remove this demon. Please remove all the demons and spirits that seek to prevent my attention or seek to pervert my attention. Please make all that is needed to be known for me clearly known. If I must suffer, let it be, or must die, let it be. Remove the lie of death from my eyes. Remove vanity from my motives. Remove me from the cell of fearful isolation. Guide me in your way. Amen. September 24th, 2021, 4:41 a.m. Compression. Humans and what's being hidden. The comic icon. Prose and poems. Theology, biology, Scientology. The desire to lie to oneself and the desire to lie to ourselves and on and declared knowing, but maintained the lie. The truest poem is the deepest secret, screaming from your inner dialogue that you could never utter. The most meaningful poem is the one whispered in surrender upon dying that words can never translate. Meaning lives and thrives in the waiting room between life. Oh, meaning lives and thrives in the waiting room between life and death. August 19th, 2021. Know not. Man in all his infinite wisdom stole the night. Satellites are falling stars, but never to the ground. Crowding out the cosmos only to capture and deliver images, proving that we are the bringers of light. We are, and we are the eyes, praying to the revolving chain between us and the moon. Satiation will not come until we're the source of the sun after blacking out that too. May 16th, 2021. What are we after? Are we for the now, or are we for tomorrow? Or are we for eternity? Are we against non existence? Is there anyone ever that was against existence? Even those that have aimed to destroy everything in their paths, I would argue, are not against existence. I would argue they are for eternity at any cost. The most desperate and greedy for a taste of God. They are like a man who discovers a pizza parlor on its first day open, steals the first slice while all are looking, takes one bite and bombs the parlor. Then he sets off to do it again. March 8th, 2021. Come quite a ways, have I? From one corner of the mind to the other, sloth and sugar. Spent the other corner isn't spent the other corner isn't far enough. I'm fairly sure there are three others. How far are we? Who knows? What knows? Can't see past the tip of my nose. So I've come quite far. So I've come quite far? How far is enough? April 18th, 2021. Peripheries. Meandering down lanes. Being, feeling. No, not being. Unknowing. Like one who's consumed by the arthritis of their hands, yet unaware of the deadly parasite in their blood. Struck with an existing in anger, self-loathing, dread of limitation, drowning in self-abundance under heaps of artificial means, stable and obstructing the true means to breathe. The strangest thing. What, in fact, was that? And again later, what was that? A feeling of thirst quenched, a stomach pleasant and full, and still not, but knowing in fact it is, and not, but is. April 28th, 2021. Cartographer, professor, investigator, pretentious, wrong. Gratitude for the ability to formulate a seemingly constant stream of thought while expressing it, broadcasting it from a device that I didn't build, sitting in my car I didn't build, in a parking lot of an apartment building in a town where power and water and markets and air, using my eyes with the precision and touch and feeling in my fingers, using a language I have no clue how I use in a universe I don't understand or have to understand but can seek to understand. The greatness of this seemingly impossible moment that infinitely here and now. To know I've almost not even touched the depth of gratitude. All of this and more, I hope to practice. April 30th, 2021. See, God. I look and try to explain, but really, have I ever seen the wind? Could I ever actually see it? You might say, sure, look at the dust or smoke, look at the mists, watch the clouds overhead, watch the trees dance fr- frantically, or the meadows bow in thanks. Have you ever really seen the wind? When the smoke or dust or leaves or blades of grass are carried or tugged, it is caught. Is it cause or effect, or is it one at the mercy of the other? Graceful, mutual, inevitable, and by scale and scope nearly impossible. Have I ever really seen my face? Is it really possible to see my face? There's photos and mirrors abound. There's windows and memories. There's the ridge of the nostril I barely catch, blurry, and a marker to tell me I am in fact here and can see something, and it's something is in fact the most constant thing. Something, and in fact, the most constant thing I see. I wonder sometimes, perhaps my face isn't for me to see. How is any of this possible? The fact that I'm asking, does that answer it? See, God. I look and try to explain, but really, have I ever seen the wind? Could I ever actually see it? You might say, sure, look at the dust or the smoke, look at the mist, watch the clouds overhead, watch the trees dance frantically or the meadows bow and thanks. Have you ever really seen the wind? When the smoke or dust or leaves or blades of grass are carried and tugged, is it cause or effect? Or is it one at the mercy of the other? Graceful, mutual, inevitable, by the scale and scope nearly impossible. Have I ever really seen my face? Is it really possible to see my face? There's photos and mirrors abound. There's wind and memories. There's the ridge of my nose and flare of my nostrils I barely catch, blurry, and a marker to tell me that I am in fact here and can see something. It is in fact the most constant thing I see. I wonder sometimes, perhaps, my face isn't for me to see. How is any of this possible? The fact that I'm asking, does that answer it? That was May 1st, 2021, 6:03 a.m. Remember when? Once there was a once upon a time. Once there was a once upon a time. The dreams of tomorrow were visions of enchantment. Fruition stumbled through the door drunk and self loathing, self important. Remember when Dorothy's house settled and the new light touched her eyes? That place, that spot, timeless, pointlessness, grand, stunning, unrivaled. And now, with the crystal ball in our hands, and the cosmos booked on Travelocity, where's Dorothy now? There never was a Tin Man or Scarecrow or Cowardly Lion. I think I'll miss when space was a distant dream. With all that we want and all that we need, will it ever really be? May 7th, 2021. Timestamps. I realize more than death, it's life I'll miss. Perhaps the darkest corners of life were feigning in my imagination as death. The grandest heights, whispers of heaven, the tears that streamed down my face today, from where? What? Well, from the back seat through the hills of Strawberry City, he would speed, egging us on, butterflies in our stomach. When the body tries separating from space, exhilaration. When the soul timestamps, where will timeless, where will the timeless arrive? From what well? May 12th, 2021. It's a wonder. Forever, ever? And so on. I traveled time today. First stop, 9899 20 years past. A Chi Town Pond, or a Chi Town Pound, a solo layover. There, there, the ice on the mountain, a day and a half, endless grass. 910. And 20 ago, a desert seemingly endless. My first and only encounter with near fatal uh, deprivation, a strange woman clinging to sober breath, dangling from life with lack of poison, surely foreshadowing the night of 910 and 20 ago. Communion with and laughter and a new land, a new home, a new beginning, the beginning also the end. On the morning of when the sun arose, for me, in the west, something was settling in the east. I wonder, have we really come to terms with that day? Or have we conveniently ignored it? May 13th, 2021. Rains of grace, swaying through days of summer and nights of neon, from the empty low from the empty lot downtown. I stare off, stifled, clinging to this hollow ground. The giants hover past, they shuffle by. On a teardrop from this drought as I cry, or not a teardrop from this drought as I cry. Turning to the lily, I say, look at all this madness. Look at all this strife. I don't know who brought me, nor even the invite. How did I get here more than how, but why? Am I just a blade of grass? And why is it so dry? The lily turned and smiled and said, it was the dove that dropped you here, my friend. And the giants that go by, they are so thirsty, that's why they're so dry. The why is what we make it here. And for here is made of life. Life is not the final place. Life is the invite. Sit with me and toil not. Hallowed is the sky. The rains of grace come, no doubt. They always come on time. May 15th, 2021. dot, 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 dot. The Neo Revolt came barreling down the glass from the depths of the ocean, a daisy chain of tantrums since Mommy's first counted to 3, each armed with Lunchables like rhetoric and fruit by the foot demands. So much playing pretends. Dudes in jumpers and halters, trading truth like baseball cards lost and forgotten in closets, along with Uno and Operation and a pile of old dead Duracells. When mom is both mom and pops, and kids play doctor and keep secrets, boys will be boys, God's on vacation, then is it any wonder Jane steps into the sacrifice and the change station? Oh, goody, our eyes are open with a mirror and staring competition. With a mirror and staring competition. May 21st, 2021. Common paragon. If you offered it to them, they'd never accept it. Mid 30 to 60 somethings, bodies broken, faces lined, weather worn, arthritic, with no time to waste. Their fruits fill our eyes, yet they are neatly ignored. If they demand respect, the sentiment is expressed in giving it. Even then, rough ground on edges hard on their tradition. One so foolishly might call them rude and apathetic. Remember, no time to waste. Easter and Christmas, birthdays and first days, ball games and bad days, proms and moms, Sundays and back in again Mondays. These men with their big hearts and swollen livers, before dinners, naps on recliners, steel toes and local watering holes. If you called them heroes, they'd never accept it. Except that is it. They are this and will be missed. When a time would be a waste not to remember, even the ordinary has his extraordinary gifts. May 22nd, 2021. Today, woke slowly and creaky, a subtle darkness, a warm blanket, and time constricting a prayer. Please deliver, please come free me. A sliver of light more powerful than the sun, walks with me, is within me. A day down in the modern mines with the tiny screens and moving lights and buildings made from California cancer and average lines, sleepwalkers professing modern wines while eating Wonder Bread and drinking all the things boxed up wine. Will I make it through the day? Will I ever not be so petty where all I can give is thanks? To lend a loving hand and listen to their shame? To make it home to my loving wife and share about our day? To lay our heads within our beds and onto another day? Thank you, God, for all you give and all you take away. Help me to walk with your will and give you everything. May 25th, 2021. Wisdom is a beach. Oh, I think I already read that. Maybe not. Grains of sand, a monolith of dead moments. Ideas turn mistakes, turn to faith, turn to stone, turn to ideas, turn to grains. She crashes relentless. Runs his fingers through her hair, sweet as breath, on the necks of lovers, violent as rulers threatened into retirement, cold as the unknown place, surprise in the eyes of the finder's face. She erodes. She knows. She is pulled into collapse, a mirror forever static, forever erratic. She. July 14th, 2021. Without eyes. Are the floods coming or come and gone? Genesis 9:11. Is the convenient established and the inhabitants in denial of forgiveness? Delusional amnesiacs, unfed, leisurely anxious on our cots with the dementia, in the dementia ward, with knowing words on our lips, heaven and hell hang in the balance while the starving creep single file in the bread lines. Never mind the ballast. See over here in this corner, we say we know and do not. We sing and say and fight and kiss. We frantically try to fix all this and it's all for the kids. Over in that corner, the one we see but can't, but say we can't. He rules with love we cannot stand. It is safe to say we want what's best, but at best we want it. We want what we say and ignore the rest. Hope to see you and see you and me and you. The light of truth we cannot see. Thank God. Thank you, Lord, for what we need. Thank you for what we have not yet seen. August 7th, 2021. Compression. Humans and what's being hidden. The comic icon. Oh yeah, I read that one. A realization. Of course, it would be a matter of pattern and course that would reject, deflect, and by repulsed by a promise of you promise, your promise. This morning, a vision of your murder. We did it. We could not accept the simplest of experience, like every hair on my body standing terrified in the darkness. Is it that ghost? Absurd. Whilst inching my way around the room, pretending what ghost? If you were to reach out a finger or whisper a word, death would have struck you and stormed with terror from a broken-hearted and hurt and hardened child standing prideful, knowing in that room. Not a whisper, not a thing. There you stood, forced upon that hill, a man's body broken, stretched as we made you, or thought we did, looking out over that horizon, even then knowing what you knew. Did you remember we couldn't see or hear or know and still gave up the hope so that hope might arrive? I can see how they hated. I was once hateful, still might become. Did they watch themselves do it and let pride fruitlessly drown the shame, thinking, I'm hiding, he'll never know? Like that child playing hide and seek with the ineffable in that dark room. And still you forgave? You've made our amends for us? What then can I do? August 20th, 2001. Grace, pain, mercy, and the stirring flourishing of an unknown love. One of the earliest memories I have are a hellish terror. through the eyes of what must have been 3 or 4 years old, 3 or 4 year old's child's eyes, staring up at a set of three lights inside triangle formation beaming down at me. The smell of surgical chemicals, the bustle of masked people, the ceiling above the lights, the chaos. The memory is blurry and rapid flashing recall. The memory is terror. The second memory I have is love. The care of a mother and grandmother's father's laughter. There's a security in all this. The the X-ray prints from the hospital would be rolled up with rubber bands and placed over my arms so I couldn't reach or touch the fresh stitches on my lips. The laughter and joy coming from family came because somehow, and it must have been some imitation I learned from my father, the mimicking of a robot. In the laughter, I remember love and trust, although the same child's eyes. One is blurry, flashing hell, and the other blurry, more rich heaven. Let's do some considerable fast forwarding. There are many instances of heaven and hell competing for attention throughout this journey of mine. One being looking up at the boy next door, the boy I feared and admired, convincing me to step on the snail. Hesitantly, I puzzled. I see myself doing this, after which the boy next door, with slickly smile, said, "You know, someday you'll die too." And bang, a certain knowing, a revelation, death, imminent and bad. I run inside, hysterical, mother puzzled inquiries of her 5 or 6 year old son, "What's wrong?" I say, "I don't want to die. Someday I'll die and you'll die. I don't want to die." In in the heavenly comfort of a mother consoling with the tools she has, with the simplicity, "It's okay, son." And back and forth through my life, through these same eyes, growing further from love with more distrust, wondering and how it's how is it that anyone can live and be joyful? What sort of ridiculous scheme have I become placed in? I've never asked for this. Why and how could anyone even suggest a God, even though I hadn't been introduced to any God? All I knew of God was if you do bad, you go to hell. God's always watching. So, what to make of my position? Born with a distorted face, chaotic parents, chaotic environment, I certainly must have done bad to deserve this. I must be bad. So, if I'm bad, I guess I'm bad. Yet, through the haze, the fog of hell, love would make its way. I remember being very young, probably 8 or so, and watching La Bamba and seeing the love between Richie and his brother. I knew his brother, the chaos, the love locked in hell, and I wept at the end of that film. And in a glimpse of heaven made their way through the fog. At 12, I was introduced to the church. I liked what I heard. I liked the community. I prayed the evildoer that asked Christ. I, I once played the evildoer that asked Christ if he can enter his kingdom on the massive Easter production of this megachurch. A 12-year-old boy, half naked, dragging a cross and placed on that cross in front of at least 1,000 churchgoers. But 12-year-old minds see things through true and poor. Father has limited tools for fatherhood, terrified, frustrated, and resentful. Says he loves Christ, yet can't act accordingly to this young mind's eye. Hypocrites. Oh, the irony. I would move back to mother's in another church and wrestle with self gate and lust and misdirection and puberty, like being in a canoe without a paddle and on the sea drifting further and further out. And just like that, heaven and hell. He always prevails. Always. It's been my experience that a boy terrified of what's before him, I covers my eyes, hoping not to be seen, yet I peek. I see but do not understand. There is only the kingdom of God. This my mind will try to strip from him. will try to protect, to justify. It is only him that frees. I run, he embraces. I hide, he remains. You see, I thought I was stuck in hell. I had it backwards. I cannot escape his perfect love. I will forget. He will not. August 23rd, 2021. The seemingly good and the seemingly bad. I couldn't see until I could see, and couldn't hear until I can hear. I say this, and I'm assuming you know what I mean. I've never actually lost my Oculus. I don't know what the hell that word is. Unless you count that one time I was awake and nearly. Okay, let me try this again. I couldn't see until I could see, and couldn't hear until I can hear. I say this, and I'm assuming you know what I mean. I've never actually lost my Oculus vision. Unless you count that one time I was awake for nearly 4 days while on Adderall, where in an episode I was riding in the passenger seat on the way home, and my vision blanked out momentarily to a blinding white, then snapping back to a normal after several seconds. That was quite concerning. Did I lose my vision, or was I granted a new vision? And as far as I know, I've never lost my auditory hearing, at least not totally. But it does seem to be receding more and more as the years go on. Am I losing something, or am I gaining insight? I've been thinking about our experiences and coming to know or coming to believe in God, whatever that means. I've been thinking about how to look at my past experience and how to see it. What's remembering? Is it true or not? By remembering my past and what I see today can be very different than what I remember and see about my past tomorrow. How much agency contributes to what's hidden and what's revealed? How much agency determines how to see the world? How much agency directs dreams or stories of the future? We say things that to me sound something like, today, yeah, in this moment, I feel a certain way about my situation now because I have a perception of inflictions or encounters. Thus, this is the way it is. Ask that same person tomorrow or at some other later date after having more recent inflictions or encounters, and their perception of the previous known past is reformed or updated or revised, and maybe not. This brings something funny to mind I once heard. My greatest dream for tomorrow is the hope of a better past. How much is managed and how much is granted? We might say things like, I was dealt a bad hand. That's a true statement or perception. How about this? It's possible even it's possible you have the entire deck, every conceivable hand, and perhaps a matter of perception. And all this being said, it's sometimes not possible to see or hear until you can see and hear. So, definitions are useless aims, and they're not. Knowing is an unknowing, and seeing is a blinding white light or not. What I've written here is total nonsense. What I've said here makes perfect sense. We can, we must, we won't, we can't fight to the bittersweet end to know what we'd like to hold on to desperately, reaching for surrender, running on empty. So what now? Read this at some later date. Never again consider such rubbish. This is bad, and this is right. August 26, 2021. What a bizarre thing to encounter. distributed cognition to individual identification and individual prejudice, to individual interaction, to the individual sifting, the integration, and the discarding, then onto the disturbed assumption, to the individual reorientation, and repeat. All this to explain the narrow road of the willing. August 29, 2021. Us and then? Question mark. Generations through who knows how many millennia merely multiplying and making way have little or nothing to say, it seems, through the ingrate eyes and idle busy hands that my opinions and ideological insightful interpretations have decided that my ways have led them astray. They know not what they do, but I propose to you, and believe me, I have measured and read and discerned, I do. Invisible, majestic mountains made and maintained, moved, and marvelous, mysterious at infinitum. The valleys and canyons unseen at the bottom of the sea, without eyes to see, a bottomless abyss worth measuring. Leviathan? What Leviathan? You know, the lilies in the field toil not, while the brother's blood cries from the soil, and the one who's not his keeper cannot bear or accept forgiveness from his maker, redeemer. So he wanders. He can't even be a martyr for the self loathing. Thanks to the sins of the Father and all knowing, welcome to that land of Nod, where he names the city after what he thinks he made and pretends to be God. What fools, what frightened fools. September 4th, 2021. Now let's pretend. Since we're not him and cannot love, and least truly perfectly love, which cannot fragment, cannot be comprehended, let's pretend. It's what we do best. Though all he though all this he so loved the world, or through all this he so loved the world. Our hardened, frightened, deceptive, ungrateful, confused hearts. The murder, the unnameable horror, the lying of oppression, and the turning away from our children, the cursing our parents, the smashing the mirrors, our judgments, the out of our jurisdiction, the turning away, the mocking, the words like blades and hammers, the tearing it down, the worship of enemies, the worship of self, the hidden corners of a blackened heart, the pain clung to like lifeline, our identities, our fools, amenities, the stifling of generations to come and spitting in face of our past. And we say, with all that is how, and we say, with all that is how could there be a God? And we say with this, and we say with all this, how could there be a God? Well, how about this? With all this, how could there not be? Father, please heal us, show us, place us, place a mustard seed of your perfect love in each of us. Walk us through the torment of considering forgiveness. Make us more than modern scribes. And me, may I accept your perfect love through all I can't see, though I can't see you, though I find it impossible to give. When the moment arrives, do this for me. I cannot. Make the poem of my heart true. I'm not worthy, but I need you. September 5th, 2001. The further away. The further away from active participation in the biblical religious story we've gotten, the more we lean on frightful blind assumptions about the religious story. The more we have an active participation with our shared assumptions, thus becoming an active participation with our prejudice, And that becomes the nun's work ethic. And this pattern is actually carried over to the secular, materialist, even naturalist worldview. It's skepticism at the root of all worldview, utilizing minimal information and minimal participation with opposing views. The most egregious assumptions are that are at the foundation, or the most egregious assumptions are at the foundation. They are ran through the game of telephone. Nobody wants to step on hot lava, so the old religious story, or the straw man version of the religious biblical story becomes an evil to stay away from at all cost. To dodge being duped is somewhat near the top of the hierarchy. This too is how words and language have been hijacked. The mythological rumor. When rumor becomes fact, all of the noise, all of the noise, loud and piling, hides us from him. But I believe he uses all these things to reach us, and what is most vital for each of us is to participate over discussion. Discussion is good, but if that's as far as we're willing to go with our ideas, then we've got caught in the prejudice trap. How best can we serve thee? When in my tile school, I learned much in reading and discussion about the work and the history of tiles and the math of the tiles and work of the products as I'm to work with them. But all this meant little until I started to work with it, to fail and succeed and grow in the field. Anywho, I hope I've been helpful. It made sense. Looking forward to hearing back about your experience. September 2nd, 2021. Um, this doesn't have a title. The other day, I listened to a ghost, and between the humid breaths and the R.J. Reynolds flavored stench, I heard a dying man while the chads that in my head laughed at the request, please don't litter. Once in a while, I can remember, but only to a degree. The death defying dance we descent, deathly defiant. The, I'm just kidding. So, this ghost, an intelligent ghost. Much of what he says is above my head. Some of what he says is much more where I've been. None of what was said could be taken past the end. The ghost and this minister, both men of God. The smoke rolls up my cheek, into the corners of my eye and past my brow. I barely squint. I think, wow, what a feat. When I was 12 or 13, that really used to sting. And isn't it interesting what we believe, what we think? The wise one listens and nods. There's a moment or two there he speaks. He really trying to administer relief. To no avail. What a tough thing to be. A man who's fed your pain. He tries to eat. He tries to take. With hope he tries, but he suspects. He thinks. He knows. There's just no way. I squeeze and roll the cherry off the end. Another day coming to a close. Another day again and again. Another ghost who tried not to pretend. September 13th, 2021 is interesting. From top to bottom, from east to west, God, Father, if in all I do off the off the mark and missing you, and all I see from the tree of life is a fallen bark, while a Picardy hammer through the store their seed in hopes that they'll have closer being. I pray that though I may not enter in, that I may hold the door for the rest of them. Is this a sin? I do not know. But I see your son through the branches below. Beautiful. God, from the Father, Father, if all I do is off the mark and in missing you, all I see from the tree of life is fallen bark, while the Picardy hammer through and store their seed in hopes that they'll have their closer being. I pray that though I may not enter in, that I may hold the door for the rest of them. Is this a sin? I do not know, but I see your son through the branches below. September 20th, 2021. Jesus prayer and dangle flare. Lord, Lord, Lord. You know I seek frantically, feeling chased by none other than me, with moving pictures like magic, with whispered spells, men kissing men. Good grief, what the hell? In this series of talks and confusion, have mercy on me and relieve me of my fearful self-delusion. Jingle, jangle, dingle, wrangle. How brilliant of you to make testicles so funny. I sit and imagine, what was it you thought? I sit and imagine, what was it you thought? Was it something like this? Well, their wobbly bits bring about life and connection, a sensitive member, but also confusion. With all this abound, I must also make funny. But they'll know not why that, but they know not why, but they know why, but that doesn't matter because life's greatest gifts often come on a funny platter. Manna in flesh and blood. The Father has always provided. Through the desert they went, out of tyranny into the unknown, dreams of old on their lips, from tyranny of man to an answered prayer, to tyranny of wilderness. The tyranny of man provided many flavors and became bitter to the tongue. Into the desert for 40 years, dreams of bitter tongues and complaints on their lips. That's just like us. God brings manna, and with it comes awe. Soon fades. With complaints of tyranny of man once again, along comes the sun. He says, I'm the bread of life. They've seen this in their eyes, but not in their hearts. It's just like us to want our bread and blessing a la carte. Salvation's on the menu when we think abundance is a divine spark. September 28th, 2021. A plea. The needy shadow, the starved light, Cain and Abel, Eros and Edheros, to stumble and flee from the voice of a million rainbows, or to fall into the hands of the singular, the every, to bask in the illusion of a sensual plain momentary reprieve, settling the bait of self-reliance and unbelief, unbelief, undetermined to the truest lie of one unbeing, or can be cradled like a sword that's sheathed, secure, clean. Father, it's your eyes. I am to be seen. And the road narrows. Newly born, or reborn as they say, a whole new set of eyes, new shades of night and light of day. I contemplate how lost and at home in the fog I was, how alone and in comfort the heavy shrugs, the sweet aftertaste of resentment on my tongue and spite on my lips, a gorged belly of glutton for the dim, being pulled through the door where once collapsed caverns, falling sweetly, desperately all around, despairingly all around. Anew, an answer like sand through my fingers, the vital remains left clinging to my calm, our clammy palms present are pressed together. Only what is needed is what is left. Tomorrow I will dig again. Discernment is our lot, to do or accept or do not. And like the rain falling upon the just and unjust alike, knowing when it will fall is a distracting vein like marveling at the fissures in the rock. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. How may I serve thee and be new beginner? Amen. October 5th, 2021. Hashtag passive viral crisis of the cult, or in the cult of algorithms. Man doesn't live on bread alone, eating rocks, building castles of silica, crystal balls where our eyes once were, bowing to the new world, ones and zeros. If hell can fit into the crack of a fracture pavement, how much greater could it be in nothing space? Sing sweetly to me the greatest hits. That and only that. Or that and that only. Digital wheat baking in digital sun. Digital bread for everyone. What an absurd poem. Let's read that again. Hashtag passive viral crisis in the cult of algorithms. Man doesn't live on bread alone, eating rocks, building castles of silica, crystal balls where our eyes once were, bowing to the new world, or bowing to the new word, ones and zeros. If hell can fit into the crack of fractured pavement, how much greater could it be in nothing space? Sing sweetly to me my greatest hits. That and only, or that and that only. Digital wheat baking in digital sun, digital bread for everyone. October 6th, 2021. Untitled. A boy of purpose to discover stumbles aimless through the undergrowth of the forest floor, out of its thrownness into the tumbling through sunrise and nightfall, accompanied by seasons of all. A dance eternal called the King's Ball. The body of man emerges. The boy gathers wisdom much slower than the boy grows when compared over all. The man with boy's eyes and calloused hands between realms where one's without, where within is fraught with doubt and petty sin, a world scathing, that world is thin, and the other infinite, eternal, a world of love, not bliss, not happiness, not a world, but a heart held in the hands called forgiveness. On through this successive rising and stumbling, he does not see why, but senses something soothing and troubling. I can never become, I simply am. October 11th, 2021. This is a short one. ... Like a fire for the camp, it crackles, bringing warmth and light. The aging man's joints crackle as he moves through life. October 11th, 2021. His beauty, your spirit, my essence. Upon our first encounter, a low-level place of authority and a place to use your hands. I, a clock where once one would marvel, and now figured blurred on noisy, grimy landscape of infinite static, average, less than average, practically not there. On our second encounter, a bothersome question, a stirring curiosity, something like an old man wise, worthy of attention, but a mirror too sharp to be cut by. But it was our third embrace that stretched your face. I, a towering, imposing, devouring, striking, swirling embrace. Life giving, timeless, alive universe, a place to thirst and showering. You, a child in the presence of a father, a child that has met his father is for the first time yet has known him forever but couldn't place his face. In awe, staring into his father's face, holding his giant guiding hand through, hearing his steady, terrible, perfect voice. A child knowing yet wishing to be as he is, father, knowing there's no way, but I must try. Struck by the humility and mystery of his mother, his brave, courageous, truthful, gentle mother. There we meet, all around, you within, marveling art and in life by death. You could spend eternity here and not see all of it. I don't really know. October 28th, 2021. Well, I don't know about the meaning crisis, left, right, black, white, or other vices. Which Jesus Christ is right, or if I'll be saved. From my perspective, our propositions participate procedurally running in circles. Remember, embody, we're in the age of decay. Symbolically speaking, the reapers reaping, them damn egregores are whispering sweetly. We're all NPCs in the belly of the beast. Red pill, blue pill, bread pill, Mars Hill, or DMT, or whatever you feel. God 1 and number 2, it's all the same damn thing. So clean your room, repent on Zoom, ontology for dummies, a bird's eye view. Because if you really knew, could you really even say, all totally depraved, all totally saved, a total disposition from the bed we all made? Or is it the elect, or are we just insane? From John Vervaeke to Jonathan Peugeot and Jordan Peterson to the Chris Pacou show, Paul Vanderklay and Griswold Grimm, and all the dice he shakes. This estuary ditty is a little bit cringy, and quite the U-shaped are the hero's journey. All NPCs in the flood treading water to watch you save the day with a bunch of chitter-chatter. From ortho bros to Catholic Joes or atheistic Jobs to Protestant folks and Jewish Jacobs and everything between. So love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul, with all your mind and all your fingers and toes, and all your neighbors too, as if they were your own. January 24th, 2022. In the information war, Leviathan stares dumb and drooling from below, like an aphasic child on Adderall, dazzled by screen time shadows on the wall. Above him, the egregore grays and dance like the northern lights from the sun's final phase. This too will come to pass, even the abyss, though terrified, wouldn't miss a show like this. In the information war, the inspiration shore slick with spume, where sea lion and starfish sink in quicksand in dreamer's tomb. Desire being devoured by the land. Well, if you're not going to lend it, you better give him a hand. Bravo. Bravo. The information war. Truth will be bent, words will be stretched, and self will be immense. Where once ghosts of great would crawl over tongues through teeth past lips, to then become prints and upon bodies, unwilling lent by corpse or by cops in groves. Where today the ghosts we wield like past wounds of guilt on carousel crystal balls of plastic and silica servers and coated walls. And the forests are degraded yet more to toilet paper, where ghosts of artificial meals are smeared, flushed, and forgotten, essential, insignificant normalization. Oh, what rubbish we've sold and bought. In the information war, unshackled slaves stare starry eyed, amazed, lethargic, singing songs of the stupid. No life, no pain, shallow, bandied as beauty. Everything, all things, only the good must be. Easily achieved of truth is what you want it to be, and the false will set you free. January 28th, 2022. That's a strange one, huh? It's a good one. I like it. Oh, no, I can't read this one. Maybe I can. You're a Christian. I'm a Christian. I am a Christian. Wait, you're a Christian. Am I a Christian? I am a Christian. With similar questions and statements, there's a similar dislike. The questions, the statements are empty. They are full of self-defeat and deadening excuses. Hang with me a moment and let's explore some heinous attitudes. You're queer. I'm a queer. I'm a queer. You're a redneck. I'm a redneck. Am I a redneck? For the convenience of saving space, oh my God. White, black, I can't read this because people. White, black, cracker, N-word, alcoholic, rich, poor, sinner, against, saint, atheist, Christian. None of these define a person. The true human, Catholic, Protestant, Orthodox, Jew, Mormon, all statements of separation. What we call ourselves, what they call us, what we call them, for me, all invalid. When I say I'm a Christian, it feels false. I'm becoming, I am captured by Christ. I am desperately in need of him and to know you. I am only one who knows not what I do. I'm only one who knows. I know not what I do. Please forgive me of the language. It's a bad one. I mean, it's a good poem. January 30th, 2022. Sometimes, sometimes I have to sit and just think. Sometimes, mostly about just the next thought. Here and gone. It'll come back around. They're like trinkets in a junk drawer or a paperclip hiding behind the many random notes on my desk, trying to hold it all together. How did this happen? It's all so big and yet feels right as rain, exactly as it should be, perfectly rearranged, a perfect display of the humane. Sometimes it's a timeless blank stare, across the room to the floor for the lengths of a few blinks. Back to it. January 31st, 2022. Perfect placement. After I stood in line and met the young and his better half, I took a seat at the back of the room in the last row of chairs. I thought about this man. I know we're sad, but I'm not sure that's what was flowing through me. Hope. That seemed more appropriate a description. As I sat there thinking, smiling at the many familiar faces nodding, exchanging surface level pleasantries, my attention was pulled to the room itself. It's strange how we've subtle something so personal and rent space for our dead. This could be this was very theatrical, lavish, in the best way, but still oddly generic. Not quite as flat and artificial as a high end hotel posing as the Ritz, but just about that far. Al was a giant, a witty giant, rarely frown, rarely a frown if ever I seen one, often a smile or just simply straight faced. I was going to talk about humility, he'd say, but there's simply not enough of you here. The new would stare stupidly perplexed. The fives to tens would chuckle out of politeness, and the long timers would laugh to feed the room while hoping the five to tens get a grip and stick around, while the five to tens look at the old timers hoping they'd notice they brought the newbies. I met his wife about 20 minutes ago. I leave that conversation thinking I'd never known Al in the way she knew him, and yet she never known him in the way that hundreds of us here know him. Who got the better deal? Tough to say. It's odd. This 6x8 painting to my left has snagged my attention. I'm sitting in the valley floor of Yosemite looking at the stream, reeds and sugar pines in the foreground, a clouded sky providing the daylight on the face of El Capitan. It's nowhere near as breathtaking or imposing as my wife and I had experienced as my wife and I had experienced in that valley this past summer, but good God, it's making this moment for me. One could only hope to be seen in such reverence and regard. The towering spirit and nameless painting identified perfectly upon first glance. Thank you, Al, and farewell. That's a good one. I forgot I wrote that. February 5th, 2022. That's that was about an old timer who passed away, and I went to his funeral. That's a great. That's so nice. Seeds of fallen leaves of modernity and enchantment. It was all a dream, to dream about a dream, to take the sands of time, carefully direct the wind, to form and fall each grain into walls upon its place in malls. Tell him and talk of time. A clock to fulfill a mirror, horrid, horde, infinite, singular, and terror, blissfully divine. Each sat struck by nostalgia, pondering, riddled. What was our finest times? Was it our feet on the ground, eyes and ears in the moment's hands in the dirt, each busy with focus as new as the now and here and daylight burn? Was it our eyes on the ground striving for it, leaning into was, dazzled by sleight of hand? Not here, but where else? The discovery? The other? Seeds of enchantment expelled from, rolling downhill to streams carried off to shorelines, stones where birds extract and fly off to outer lands dropping along the way. The discovery of desire to cage the fowl. Harvest is process, study its bones, name the things enchantment bemoans. Why have you forsaken me? Oh, remember when? April 2nd, 2021. The ancients would say, it was the gods. It was your lack of thanks, a lack of nods. The cities came, filled the forest with streets. The new world came with chapels and griefs, invitations like sugars and false teeth. We tamed the wolves and became the lions. Fathers and sons were fed the nations that destiny could be plucked like lilies in the field. We savored that lie to its last drop. Mothers and daughters were thrown into abandonment of child, into an alien world where all are told to cope. We're all frayed ends of hope. Poor Cain, poor Abel, torn vine, glass cable. And the visions don't stop. God redeemed. We can't not. An avalanche to the bottom, a topple from the top. Lead us not to temptation or to not. April 5th, 2021. Wings stretched across the sky, the waterless firmament on its back, rooted in the east, stabbing its way through the south and the west. Here below, the tired, scared asphalt and dewy fields, the yawning sun blinding my eyes, hiding the face of this angel, ready to take flight, waiting for the word. June 30th, 2022. Domicide. I'm asked to see and to hear, to love. In fact, I'm required. Dear God, carry this cross for me. On one hand, a child is in the arms of his weeping mother. On the other, a child in the arms of his frightened father. Memories perfect and few, momentarily fleeting. I've tried and not succeeded to forget the horror, convenient forgetfulness receding. A word shaped by trembling hands, fallen skies, and failed plans, decisions forged by misguided youthful adults. Have a good day. Relevance Realization, today's leading distributor of sense and cognition, a framework that helps you focus on relevant aspects of the world while ignoring irrelevant information. Relevance Realization, turning ill-defined problems into well-defined problems.